Welcome to the Pat Sheranian Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to be with me on the radio and on the internet, on streaming video. My guest today, and I'm so glad that she's back, is Janice Weinheimer. Glad you're back.
Thanks.
And she's going to share with us some more interesting things that have been happening in her life. And if this is the first time you've heard her, we'll bring you up to date a little bit on where she's been in her life and about her wonderful book. I was just speaking to some folks at Ron Verl Osmond's show this morning between 9 and 10 a.m. And she, by chance, went out and bought your book and said she started reading it, and it's just wonderful. So we're going to talk a lot about this book and where people can find it and get hold of it. But I do want to give a shout out to Kyani Products, who are our sponsor, one of our sponsors for this hour. They've been wonderful products. There's 3 products. And by the way, if you're interested in going to a meeting with me, please call. There's a meeting next Tuesday night in the Orem area, not far from the Provo Canyon, coming down 800 North, or right before you go up Provo Canyon. So I can give you directions how to get to the meeting if you'll give me a call. It lasts an hour. There's a little social first where we get acquainted. And it's a beautiful home. The woman that's going to be giving the presentation is a professional athlete. And so we are going to have a great evening talking about Kyani. You'll learn a lot of things. You'll meet a lot of people that have experienced the same type of things I have, where my body was just dragging, and it has changed tremendously in the last 15 months. I'm up and going daily because of the Kyani products. If you'd like to look it up on the internet, it's KYANI, KYANI.net. So take a look at that, and we're going to go right on. And my phone number, I didn't give that, 801-362-9552, 801-362-9552. All right, bring me up to date. What's going on? Where have you been? What have you been doing? Don't you look nice today?
Oh, thank you.
You look very good. I love your outfit. Oh, for the radio, she's got on a lovely necklace with interesting stones, a couple I've never seen before. And then it looks like suede. Is this top to front suede?
Yes.
Suede and silk or something to that effect. It's
right.
Absolutely lovely. Black. I love, very sophisticated colors. You've got a beige, a gray, and a black. And
right.
It works. It works beautifully. Is it a pantsuit?
Yes.
Oh, lovely. All right. I know you were waiting all day to hear that. So we are going to talk about a tough subject. And it's tough because very few people go through it unscathed. And one way or another. And one of the things that came out this morning from Mrs. Shippen, Joan Shippen, when I was talking to her after Verl's on the air this morning, she mentioned that it's not just abuse, is not just sexual abuse, it's not just being hit or beaten, but it can be verbal.
Oh, yes.
Verbal abuse is devastating in many ways.
Yes.
Very, very emotional. And so we shared some time about that, and how really and truly women more and more should be able, we've certainly given ourselves permission to say, no, I'm not going to tolerate that anymore. And I think the same thing for men. Who wants to be badgered to death their whole life? Nobody. And so there's abuse if they'll put a name on it. I found recently that I had been told some stories, and I was involved in lies without knowing it, and I realized I was a hostage, that I was being held hostage because of what I knew. And you wake up one day and say, I can't tolerate this anymore, and I'm sorry if somebody's going to be hurt. But there comes a point where if you're living in that kind of an arrangement or that kind of situation, or you're in a friendship, it's very, very difficult because you're in the middle of a lie, and you can't be who you really should be. You can't tell the truth. You're lying to everybody because one lie produces another lie, produces another lie. And that is horrible abuse.
Oh, yes.
I don't know, Janice, if it's as tough as when you're sexually abused, because it takes so long. You've been, that is every part of your being, and you lose something as a child.
Oh,
I don't know if you ever get it back.
Your freedom is totally gone. No free agency anymore. You don't know there's an option to say no. That's been taken from you. And
even as an adult?
Oh, even 5 years ago, I had a problem this way, not being able.
Really?
Yes. So it's always, always there. even though I've gone through so much healing and done so many things. In the moment, if I'm not consciously aware, then I don't realize I have an option, because I just go off somewhere. I'm not there. I'm there physically, but not emotionally.
My goodness.
So it's always scary.
So it's even hard to remind yourself not to react that way because you have a tendency to just shut down.
Right. When I was in the impact training, I used to go around thumping on my thymus all the time. I'm in the clear. I'm in the present. I'm in the clear. I'm in the present.
To stay there.
Yes.
To keep yourself in that place.
Yes.
Now, have you? I'm sure you must have, since going through all of this. You must have met all kinds of people in similar situations.
Oh, yes. I was in a support group where there were 8 girls together, all varying ages. And then I told you I went to the women's conference several years ago where Dr. Ann Horton spoke to a group of 450 of us in a sexual abuse class. And she had written a book, Confronting Abuse, several years before that, and it wasn't even accepted on the campus at BYU. They wouldn't sell it in the bookstore, and she says, we've come a long way in 12 years. Now they sell my book, and now I'm asked to teach a class.
That's a big step. I think part of it was a lack of awareness.
Oh, yes.
If you are surrounded by good people who do good things all the time, you just don't run into people, and when you do, you think there's something wrong with them. And that's, to me, one of the worst things of someone who's been abused. If they come forth and talk about it, oftentimes you're held responsible for the whole thing by people who are not aware of what really goes on in the world. And you gave me some stats, and I find myself quoting them almost every day for one reason or another. 1 out of 3 women in our community, and it turns out to be national also,
right,
will be sexually abused by the time they're 18.
Right.
Is that right?
Right.
And then 1 out of 6
boys
will be sexually abused by the time they're 18. That's horrific. And our state is way up in the numbers. We're in the national ranking. What a terrible way to say that. It's embarrassing, and it's unforgivable that we are so stupid and have shut our eyes for so long and put our heads in the sand. So I'm grateful for people like you who finally said, and Ann Horton, who have said, okay, it's time to tell this. It's time to talk about it, because more and more people, and now you turn on the news and you hear this horrible mess from Pennsylvania.
Oh, yes.
And you think, how? And I listened to this man in an interview yesterday, and either all these people are lying or he is. He was on the air with an attorney, and I thought, both sides lose. Both sides lose.
Oh, yes.
The victim and the accused person, they're all victims. And where does it stop? And how did it start? Does it start with a grandparent abusing, with a parent abusing?
Well, I think
we've been living this way for years, and nobody knew it.
Of course. I mean, women used to be chattel. You know, men could do whatever they wanted with them because they essentially owned them. And so it didn't matter, you know, what they did. Women were looked down on, and we've come a long way since then. And families want to protect themselves. You know, they don't want to be out in the public and having their name, you know, put forth in the public.
It does. It ruins your life. It does ruin your life.
But it ruins the abused, the victims.
Forever.
I hate to say victim. The what's the word I want? The one who is.
The person who's been abused.
Yes, but it's the survivor.
The survivor.
Their survivor, you know, has so much to deal with because people look down at you, and if you make it public, and that's not always true, because there are some people who just go out and, you know, and put their arms around you. What can I do? How can I assist you? You know, and then there's others who, oh, don't come around me, you know, with this type of thing. They just can't tolerate having that in front of them. And then what is really indicative of a person who has been abused is that the perfectionism. And this is one of the first things I notice and begin to wonder, has that person been sexually abused, because they become perfect in everything.
Oh, really?
Perfectionism is a huge sickness for those.
Well, I know you told me your personal story about that you had to get A's. You had to be correct in everything you were doing. Your room had to be correct. You had to be correct. Your dress had to be correct. You had to be a winner. You felt like you had to succeed and excel in everything. But I didn't realize it spilled over to so many people.
I think, yes. That's when I was in counseling, my therapist said to me that was one of the big, huge things was perfectionism. They try to be perfect because, well, I did, because I couldn't accept myself. And so if I could just be perfect, maybe, I might measure up a little bit to others, but never enough.
We talked about this, and was it a feeling of being, was your feeling unloved, one of unloved, or did you feel locked into the situation, and that was why you were unloved? I mean, do we start out? We start out loving people and thinking they love us. And then you're violated.
And it's that feeling, well, at first I didn't remember when I was little. I blocked that memory out.
And hence, this is the name of the book. So why don't we explain that, because we're right here.
The Illness That Healed Me, and its account of surviving sexual abuse and the journey into healing. And it took me 20 years to write it. I didn't want to write it. I kept fighting it with everything I had, and I'd keep putting it away and forgetting it. And then those inner nudgings wouldn't leave me alone. They'd come in the night. They'd come in the daytime when I was driving, just those intense feelings that I had to do it, that there were women depending on me to get this out, to assist them, because there's a better way to heal than the way I went through years of therapy. It's not necessary to spend all that money. It's not necessary to go through that and rehash the stories and everything, because it keeps you locked into the past. It keeps you locked in unforgiveness. You keep
going over and over and over the same stuff as you go through this.
And it keeps you in low frequency vibrations, because you can't ever put it behind you and get out of it. And that's what I've learned so much with the healing journey, was the way I had to heal from my physical illness also involved the emotional illness. And in doing that, I learned things that can assist anyone in healing. And one of the major things, and I wanted to talk about this again today, is forgiveness.
I read that this morning to Joan Shippen, and all of the training, all the things you have been through, everything you've heard, everybody goes through it, but if you can't forgive, you wrote this, I was reading something you had written, if you can't forgive, then you're not going to move forward. It's the forgiving.
That forgiving moves you out of the past. Let me explain a little more. I've done a lot of relaxing in the last couple of weeks because I've lost my equilibrium. I was going to tell this. The crystals in my ears have been floating, and so while they're getting fixed and adjusted,
Is it like vertigo?
Yes.
Okay.
I've spent a lot of time in my recliner chair, and I've done a lot of pondering and thinking, and maybe that's the reason. I said, what's the message? What am I learning from this? And maybe that's the reason, because I've had to do a lot of thinking. And the more I thought about forgiveness, there are a couple of things that came up for me. And one is best explained by telling an experience.
Okay.
I had an experience with a church leader who just utterly demolished me. I felt worthless, useless, and of no value, even though I had served in executive positions and was in an executive position. This just destroyed me. And I couldn't get over it. For 14 years, I suffered through this because I didn't know what to do. Because in my family of origin, church leaders were the same as God.
Absolutely.
And so,
high deity.
The way I grew up, and the girls in my support group said, "You've got God and church leaders all mixed up. They're not the same." And even Kent, my therapist, said that to me. He said, "They're human. They make mistakes." But in my thinking and feeling, because of the way I'd been trained, at least the way I took from the training, I'm not saying my siblings felt the same way, because I don't know that, but I felt like church leaders were the same as God. And so when this man railed on me, I felt like it was God. And God did not approve of me, and I was worthless. And this
Was this because you had told him your story?
No. It had nothing to do
Nothing
with
to do with it. Okay.
with my story.
Okay.
And so for 14 years, I could not get over this. I tried every way I knew how to forgive this man. I, logically talked through it. He didn't know me. He didn't understand me. What I thought I had done was the right way. I was serving in an executive position under him. And so I went to other leaders in other areas and talked to them to see if I was just totally worthless, and I didn't get the same thing, but it didn't help me to forgive him. And so I went through this for so long, and I tried what Wayne Dyer says. You just say, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you, and you say it over and over enough until it happens, but it never happened. And I'd get to a point where I thought, I have forgiven him, I'm okay, and then I'd see him, and it'd all come rushing back. And then one day I had what I thought was an aha moment when I read about Buddha saying, these are your eternal friends, these are your teachers who have come to teach you something that you needed to learn. And so I thought, I'd finally forgiven him, because he's my eternal friend. He did this to assist me. And then when I was staffing in the impact training, I went in, and I'd never met this trainer before, and I sat down next to him, and he said, what's this low energy you're carrying? And I looked at him because he could see energy. He saw auras, he could see energy, and the minute I walked in, he saw the gray clouds around me. And I just sucked in my breath, and I said, I don't know, what are you seeing? He said, your energy is very low. And he said, I see that it has to do something with trust, but he said, and something with men. And he said, you have to tell me what this is. And so the only thing I could think of was this church leader again. And that brought it all back, and I realized I hadn't forgiven him. And so he challenged me to take this on and go see him and personally visit with him. So I did. Scared me to death. And I went in, and he canceled a couple of meetings he had and stayed with me for an hour and a half.
Wow.
And afterwards, I thought, finally, this 14 years is over. It's ended. And I went home, and I was, feeling like I was on a cloud and everything. And then something happened, and it brought it all back again. And it was still there. And I was so disappointed. And at this time, I was working at the Jewish synagogue, and one of my good friends there, one of the teachers, had taken a lot of psych classes. And I said to him one day, I told him the story, and he said to me, okay, here's your assignment. You go home, and you write a new ending to this story that is in your favor. And I said, what good's that going to do? He said, just do as I tell you. And he said, and don't do it from your head. It has to come from your heart. And so that night, in the middle of the night, all of a sudden started, like you have that TV in front of you, that you have an inner TV. I saw this thing, this scenario played on the screen in my mind, and I started to laugh. It was so ridiculous. And I went back the next morning, and I told him I felt so light and everything. And I said, it doesn't make any sense, though, because I know it didn't end this way. And he says, I know. But he says, before, you were in this channel of energy. Now you have stepped left, and you're in a different channel of energy, and you're drawing other things to you. And that was a shock to me because I didn't see how it was going to change, but it has changed. I have never felt the same toward that man again. And as I was pondering these last couple of weeks, I began to understand it was the story. I told the same story over and over, either in my mind to other people, and it just reinforced that. I couldn't let go of the story.
Was the story kind of a justification?
No, I just told.
You just told it.
Told what happened and how I couldn't get over it, how it devastated me.
All right, so now you've changed the story in your head.
In my head, and I tell this new story, and I even smile when I think about it because it's so funny the way it ended, but I let go of the story.
It's gone.
And when I let go of the story, I could forgive. And I began to realize that we tell the story, but forgive is getting back into your heart, giving love, receiving that love, and it's love in action, actually. Forgiving is love in action. So you are forgiving, to yourself and to the person you're giving love from your heart. And it's a whole different thing.
Now, I think I may have told the story, and I'm wondering if maybe I didn't finish it. Dr. Bill Tanner, down in Pasadena, on an education week that I was going, and I went to his classes, and he had something similar to that. He said, if you've had things happen in your life that have caused you a grief and pain, for instance, when you were a child, you didn't get the toy you wanted, or there was no Christmas at all, or there was a trauma at Christmas, and then he went through their, divorce and death and all these different things. He said all those things are spinning in your head constantly. And so his suggestion was to see yourself taking the tapes and pulling them apart. That's before CDs. And so I thought, okay, I can do that. So I started pulling everything off the spools, and out. And he said, now take a trash bag and put them in there, and then see yourself throwing it all into an ocean or a deep lake. And then he said, now go back and think just briefly of each of those moments and change the story. And I just remembered that when you said that. I got all the way up to that point, but I didn't remember that last piece. And he drove that home. He said, make your life, go back and review your life the way you'd like to have lived it. And to go over that and over it until you see yourself actually living that moment the way you wanted to, the way you'd like to have had a happy Christmas or a happy Thanksgiving or every day happy, whatever it would be, and are surrounded by the people that love you. Same principle.
Yes.
Is this what you were talking about that you can do in a few minutes now and not have to go through the horrendous years that you went through?
Yeah, you let go of the story. You don't tell the story because...
Then let's look in the camera and let's request that of whoever's listening to us and whoever's watching us.
To let go of the story?
Yeah.
Because it heals you. Holding on to that story just keeps you locked in to the energy of what happened and when it occurred and everything. And until you can let go of the story and get back into your heart, because believe me, you're not in your heart, because your heart is full of love, and your heart would not hold on to the story. So you let go of the story, you forgive, you're giving love to that person by letting go of the story and just moving on in your life, and you're sending love to yourself because you're letting go so you can move forward.
But there's another piece in there, and this is the piece that I can see where we could get hung up. Okay, you're very forgiving. You want to forgive. You feel love in your heart for that person. But if you allow yourself to think of the last thing they said or did, you're going to derail yourself.
Oh, yes.
So what happens to the other person? You have to let that go and not be responsible. They have to be responsible for their feelings. You have to be responsible for yours. Is that correct?
Yes, you give them back their energy because you have taken it in, literally. And I did. I took his energy in, and I nurtured it inside me for 14 years, and I gave that back to him. It's his problem. I didn't create it. I didn't do anything to deserve what he gave to me, but I took it all in. And that energy has to go back. So you cut the cords because you're tied to that person. And you go in. I always use like the Star Wars sword, that sword of light. And I take that sword and I cut that cord.
You see it. You see yourself doing it.
Yeah, okay. And I see it's a cord of energy where you're actually tied to the person. And I cut that cord with that light, and then I send love up that cord to the person, and love up the cord where it's been severed to me. And love and light, and just let it be gone.
Okay, now women would have a natural instinct, most of us, to say, I'm going to go tell him what I did. But you can't.
No, it's gone. I mean,
you're done with that person. You're done with that situation. It's over. You love them. You've forgiven them. And you can't go back and talk about it, because if you do, you're still tied.
Yeah,
okay.
You've gotten the cord right back, and you're tied to that moment in time. You're just stuck, literally, in that moment in time. And so you cut the cord, and if you have to do what I did, make a new ending, so that when you think about it, and I tried this with someone else, and I did it out of my mind, it didn't work. I had to do what Clarkson told me. It has to come from your heart.
From your heart.
And you just let it roll.
So intellectually, you can't get well.
No, it has to come through your heart with love. And of course, when you tie into love, it's going to heal. Perfect love heals.
Well, you've just helped me in a way I didn't expect. All right. Now, you brought me something new today. You call this tapping points. And so we need to describe these to our radio audience.
But first, let me give a little background.
Okay.
Before we get into that.
Okay. It's called tapping as in tap, tap, tap. Okay.
It used to be called, I think originally, well, let me back up.
Okay.
I have a little Tony man at home. It's a little light statue. Has all the acupuncture points on it, and it just looks like little points all over the body. And when I took 4 years of acupressure classes, it was very difficult memorizing all these points, where they were, and the way you would press on one point, then another, and another.
I am a little bit familiar with that, yeah.
And what you do in different things. And this was a lot of learning, and I didn't carry it all with me. I even bought the videos to the classes so that I would have it, and 4 huge notebooks of notes that I took. And so this worked, and there are pressure points, one right here between your thumb and your forefinger for headaches.
I do.
Right
Boy,
in
it's been a long time since I've thought about that.
But it really
either side.
Yeah, either side, and
it's this little fleshy pad, right?
Yeah.
Okay, a little fleshy pad between your thumb and your forefinger.
Yeah.
Okay, so we rub that around,
and that helps
to get rid of headaches.
And what it is you have too much energy, stacked up there, so it gets the channels flowing again. So anyway.
So wait, so you release something. You release
yes,
something in your brain.
The stuck energy is being moved.
Good.
So then I came across.
If I do that enough times, I'll probably put my head down and go to sleep.
Well, there's another one for that.
Okay. Well, take us through some of these. Okay. Okay.
So then I heard about this webinar, and I watched it, and it was TFT. I think the original one was thought field technology, and different doctors over the years have worked with it, and they've come up with what is called tapping. I'm sure many of you have heard of EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's just tapping. And there's a sequence you can do, but even if you don't follow the sequence, it still works. The thing is, though, you have to be very honest in what you're saying. And there's a sequence to do it. Like you start in your eyebrow, right by your nose, and you tap with 2 fingers or 4 fingers, 2 fingers when it's up in this area. And you'll be saying something, and I'll tell you that a little bit later. Just get the sequence. So in the inner eyebrow, then the outside edge of your eye, under the eye, and you want to tap 4 or 5 times, under your nose.
Not hard. We're just lightly tapping.
Well, you want to feel a little pressure,
okay.
Yes. And then on your chin, right in that groove in the chin.
Okay.
And then on the collarbone, but you want to use 4 fingers there.
4?
Okay. And then about 4 fingers down under your arm, and use 4 fingers.
Okay.
And then on the crown of your head.
How many? Just a couple?
Yeah, 4 times, about 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
And that's the sequence. But even if you don't use the sequence, it still works. And you want to be saying things that are honest, okay, so this morning when I was coming over here, I was very nervous. I'm always nervous.
Well, because we moved locations and she had not been here before. Okay.
And my vertigo, I wanted to be sure I could do this. So I'd tap and I'd say, even though I'm feeling a little queasy this morning, and even though I'm nervous about going to this interview, and even though I don't know the exact place and I want to get there on time, I still know that I can do this. I feel confidence in myself. I realize that I am a child of God. He has created me, and I am a child of love, and I can do this.
And she got here right exactly on the minute she was supposed to be here.
And so it doesn't matter, if you're feeling sick, you can use this for your illness. You can use this in so many ways.
So we're going, wait a minute, by the eyebrow, on the side of the eye.
On the side of the eye. Under the eye.
Under the eye, under the nose.
Under the nose.
Under the chin. Under the arm.
And
collarbone.
Collarbone, and then under the arm.
And top of the head. Okay.
And before you start, some methods have you, they call it the karate point, just up from your bone in your wrist, of your hand, and you tap on that while you're saying, you know, your set thing. I'm very nervous today. I'm very nervous today. I'm very nervous today.
I'm very stressed today.
Whatever, you know, and then you go on to, you know, but you don't want to say things like, I'm not nervous.
Because you're lying to yourself.
Yeah, and
that's what we do.
And it won't work.
It won't work. Okay.
It won't go through this. But it's very good for anxiety. And one webinar I listened to, a man talked about how he had used this because he's anxious when he's driving. And I have a daughter that we've talked about that has gone through terrible anxiety this year. So I gave this to her to help her because he said he taps with his thumb on his fingers. I'm in the car.
Oh, he taps his thumb to his forefinger or the middle
and
finger.
And all
the
the fingers. He goes all through it.
Yeah.
I'm very safe. I can see, you know, I'm driving safely. Everything is okay. I'm perfectly safe. You know, whatever to get that.
Would this work when you're incredibly angry, to get hold of yourself, to go through something so you get away from whatever?
Yeah.
Get your mind off of whatever it is that's creating the frustration and anger?
Right now I feel, you know, right now I'm so angry. I'm so angry. I'm so angry. I'm tapping on my karate point.
Okay.
And then I'm so angry at this person because whatever, this happened to me today, and I'm so angry and upset about this. And you just go through this 3 or 4 times.
So you're telling yourself the truth, though, all the time. It's true.
But while you're tapping, it's opening the channels up. So that the
blood flow and everything, energy.
The energy flows, your chi's flowing, the life force is flowing, everything is moving. And so the more you do it, the better you feel. And then you can start saying, even though I have felt this way, I am now feeling better. I'm feeling less angry. You know, I feel bad about this happen. You know, whatever. Just whatever is truth for you, and tap on those until you feel better. I saw a long time ago, but I didn't really relate this to the tapping, the EFT. I saw a man on TV who was using it for losing weight.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
You know, I'm craving chocolate right now. I'm craving chocolate. I'm tapping on my karate
Last night downstairs in the restaurant below us, Gloria's on the corner of Center Street and University, I had a lovely dinner, and then she brought this death by chocolate. Honestly, it was this mound of chocolate, and inside was this gooey, wonderful, creamy stuff. And I said, I think I'll take that home, because I thought, you know, that's more than I can eat here, but I'll take it home. My son was there. We cut it in half. Honestly, it was the best thing I ever had. And the last thing I wanted to eat at the end of the day at 8 o'clock at night was a chocolate anything. I mean, you think I'm going to lose weight that way? I don't think so. All right, so now, so that's like alcoholism or anything else that you're addicted to. So now I'm going to beat up this karate place.
The other side.
It's the other side,
over
right here. Okay, so roll your hand over so that you're tapping on the back of your
But above the,
actually, it's between the
wrist
bone and the wrist bone and your little finger.
Yeah, just tapping on that.
And so I'm going to beat that up, right?
Just saying, I'm craving.
Okay, I'm craving chocolate. And I get a note that says it's all been eaten. So
I'd have eaten all of it.
What was left has been eaten. Okay, so tap, 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 tap.
I'm craving chocolate right now. I'm craving chocolate right now. Oh boy, I'm craving chocolate. I want a chocolate bar. And then you go up there.
And then you start up here.
I'm craving chocolate right now. I know that I can get over this. I know there's a better way, that chocolate isn't the best food for me, you know. But even though I'm craving it right now, I know I can get over that because I'm tapping, tapping, tapping. And I'm feeling better. I don't crave it as much, you know. And then you just go back to tapping until it passes.
Yeah. Until you are done with it.
And it works. My daughter tried it, and she said, it's unbelievable.
Well, I'm going to try this the rest of the day. I'm going to try this.
But you have to be very honest.
You cannot lie to yourself. I've learned that a long time ago in many situations. It's best not to lie to anybody, but lying to yourself is, what is it? Be true unto thyself. So,
to thine own self be
yes,
true. Yes,
to thine own self be true. Good, you got that right. Well, I'm glad those of you listening on radio have not had to watch us, because those of you on Pat.Utah Valley Live, you're now watching us. You've been watching us tap ourselves. But that's interesting. Now you have given me a little diagram. Side of the eye, under the eye, collarbone, the whole thing. So if anybody wants this, I can actually get it to you. If you'll call me and give me an address, I can mail this. Can I mail that out? What can I mail that out? 801-362-9552. And of course, you can call that number for questions. And also, we have a chat room. If you're watching on pat.utahvalleylive.com, you can write in our chat room and ask questions or make comments. This is really interesting. So this is called a karate chop right here.
Yeah,
and
that's the karate chop point in acupuncture.
So this it's similar, but not acupuncture.
No.
It's a whole different
But
kind of
what
thing.
it's doing,
it's
opening up the meridians.
Okay.
So the channels of, the energy channels are opening so that the chi can flow, the life force, whatever you call it, the prana, can flow through. Because it's when this energy gets stuck, when these channels close, that's when we get sick. And so it's very important to keep those channels open and flowing. And
now we had a machine here. In fact, we've got it here. But we did this program yesterday about opening up everything in your body. And the machine does shake everything. I mean, you're on it, and everything is moving and wiggling. And they have proven that people get well from various things, fibromyalgia, diabetes, all kinds of things, because they're opening up the whole system. Kyanie does the same thing. You get rid of the inflammation, and then the body begins to heal itself. There are so many ways. I'm going to do them all.
I keep trying, but then I find new ones.
Well, yeah, I'm going to do them all. I'm loving this because I don't have to go anywhere. I can be talking on the phone and do this.
Well, yes.
This one is an easy one.
And another thing that when you sit, you want to sit erect because it keeps the channels open in your spine, or stand erect because it keeps
stand straight so you can.
It keeps those channels opening. And when you are, your hands, don't keep them closed tightly because that stops the flow. And the lung energy, the lung doesn't flow. So you spread your fingers a little. Don't keep them tight.
One of the things I've noticed when people come on the air with me, oftentimes they're holding on like this, or their hands are in, knots, and then as we talk,
they relax.
They will relax. And sometimes when I'm driving in traffic, I find I'm gripping the steering wheel like I'm going to be dead here in a minute. And I thought, just relax. Everything will work better. But this is good to go through this. It's not a hard. You actually could do it while you're driving with one hand. You can do it with one hand.
That's why I gave that to my daughter when she was so anxious.
I just saw the second sheet, and you've actually put in here eyebrow, and then what it kind of does, and where to put your hand, your fingers. And then chi is spelled CHIN. And the collarbone, underarm, your head. And then what is all of this?
It's just a repeat.
It's just repeats.
Well, I'm not sure. What did I give you?
Okay.
It's just suggestions.
Suggestions
on what you're doing. Yes, on why you're tapping.
All right. So now, you feel this takes the place of years of going through therapy, years of going through impact training. How many books you've read? We lost count. We were 20-some books and lost count. But this is a quick way to get there. And I can see, now this is really a really silly analogy, but we know when a 2-year-old's having a tantrum, they're going to continue that tantrum until we can get their attention. And so we shift them from that moment, and that's what you're doing. You're making a shift.
Right.
And you're thinking, and this is simply a little exercise to aid that.
Right. And it can be used for all things. There are many other things I still use, and I'm going to talk in a bit about Qigong because it really works and is good also.
I tried to say that word to Joan this morning. I spelled it to her, qigong, and it doesn't look like it sounds. So spell it for us.
It's QI, which is energy. That's what it means. And
gong.
Gong, and it's
QI gong, and it's pronounced
gong, qigong.
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 All right.
So and the qigong. I want to get the gong is the practice part.
Okay.
I don't know what I did with that.
Also, I want to get to. I want to mention your book again. Where can they get your book? The illness that cured me.
Healed me.
Healed me. Excuse me.
Cure is different than heal.
You've
Cure
explained that to
is
me.
what happens to the body.
That's right.
Healing is a journey of the spirit.
Okay.
From the head to the heart.
So they can get this on Amazon. They can get it at all. They can't get it at all the books around town.
No. Barnes & Noble online.
Okay.
If you're in New York, you can go to Strang.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
But the Amazon carries it, right?
Yes.
So you get it on Amazon.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
is there an email they can email you?
yes.
It's a cute email address. Write this down.
Puggie, P-U-G-G-I-E 37 at yahoo.com.
Say it again.
Puggie, P-U-G-G-I-E 37 at yahoo.com. The Puggie is what my sister who took care of me. I didn't know she took care of me because I blocked out good memories and bad memories from the time I was 3 until I was 10. So I have very few memories there, but this older sister took care of me, and her younger sister, my older sister, has said to me, she used to, when she was bathing, you say, "Oh, Puggie, Puggie, sweet little Puggie."
It's stuck.
And so
it's a sweet remembrance.
Yes, and I didn't know that until she told me, which was about 15 years ago. So that's what I have used because it's meaningful to me.
Okay, and so this book is available on Amazon, basically.
Right.
Okay, now I want to mention the other book, and then we're going to go into.
Well, this is
Qigong.
the Qigong. This is Chuni Lin, the Born a Healer, is Qigong, where I got it from, and I took 2 of his courses. There are 4. He has started Spring Forest Qigong, and I've done 2 of them, but you have to go to Minnesota for the last 2, so I haven't made it there yet. But I wanted to give you a little bit of that because this man has gone through everything. He was in China during all the, what did they call it, the revolutions and the Mao. What was the president's name?
Mao.
Yeah, was it Mao? He went through all that. When he was 9 years old, his parents were just gone. And he was left to fend for his 4 younger brothers and sisters.
At age 9?
At age 9. And they were in the streets. They didn't eat for days at a time. And he, talk about forgiveness, he didn't forgive his parents because of what they'd done and left him. But he didn't know at that time that the only way they could save their lives was to go into hiding. And so that's what they did, and eventually they got back together, but for years he hated his parents because of what he thought they had done until he heard the true story. And so anyway, he is now in Minnesota. If you could see him, he is such a beautiful...
He is beautiful, beautiful face.
He is the epitome of love. In spite of all he went through, and to learn the few things that that I have learned from him is fantastic. So anyway, I wanted to teach you a little bit about Qigong today because...
Is this book available?
Yes.
Okay.
Almost anywhere. I got mine online at Amazon, but no, I didn't get mine at Amazon. Actually, it came with my course I took.
With your course.
And he wrote...
He's written a personal note in it.
Uh-huh.
But we'll assume it's on Amazon.
Yes, it is. I'm sure it is.
And it was Born a Healer, okay, is the title. And creator of Spring Forest
Qigong.
All right. So he is putting, and this is a continuing course, I would imagine.
Yes.
He's a beautiful person. It's amazing what people can live through. It really is.
And the thing about Chuni is that he went through in China to become a Qigong master takes 50 years. And he went through a lot of training in China, and he was gifted with a way of teaching it in a simple way. He decided that you didn't have to learn all the movements and everything just exact like they were doing, that it was the idea of the healing behind. And so he has come up, I'm sure, gifted with this method of healing to teach us ways that we can heal. And he says that everyone is born a healer, and there's a healer in every family. And if we will use what we have been gifted with, we can heal the world. And that's what he's about.
What he's trying to do.
So,
and some of you are helping him.
Yes. But the fun thing about it is he makes it fun. And there's one thing he calls sword fingers. You take your index finger and your middle finger, put your thumb on your ring finger and your little finger. And this is called sword fingers. And you can use this to heal, and I'll teach you a little bit about that in a minute, but I want you to feel the energy if you can, because Qigong is about movement, it's about emotions, and it's about your heart, and it's about spirituality, and it's not about religion. You know, it's about these things. If you will take those sword fingers and point them at your other palm about 10 inches away from it.
Okay.
And just try to feel energy coming from those sword fingers into the palm of your hand. Now, I've done it enough that I immediately feel the energy in the palm of my hand, but because I've studied energy for the past 25 years.
Does it make any difference which hand is which way?
No.
Okay.
Just point it right towards the center. And to help you a little bit, imagine white light coming out of your sword fingers heading into the palm of your hand. And if you need to, swirl those sword fingers a little bit so you get the feeling of the movement of the energy instead of it stagnant. Did you feel it?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Because when you move the fingers, it's easier to feel.
I can feel it going around.
Yes.
That's scary.
What you're feeling is energy. And energy is everything.
Shut my mouth.
Now, if you have felt this, and see, my fingers start to tingle because I've done it so much. But if you have felt this and want to try something even more fantastic, because we have a table right here, and we, in our minds, think of a table as solid, put your hand, open hand, under the table, and put your sword fingers above the table, and move those fingers and see if you can still feel it in your hand. See, I feel it immediately, but I'm used to it.
I can't feel that.
But if you do that often enough, you will feel it right through the table.
Wow.
Because the table isn't solid. If we could magnify the table and magnify our hands.
Okay, now I'm feeling something, but I don't know if it's in my mind or if I'm feeling it.
Well, believe me, it's not in your mind. But you do it often enough, you will feel it.
That's interesting.
So having done that,
sorry,
and if you didn't feel
throat.
it, just imagine that you felt it.
Okay.
Because you will get to the point where you do feel it. Now, sword fingers is a way of healing. You can use this to heal. And I will explain this. If I had a bad pain, let's say a bad pain in my shoulder, let's do the shoulder, I would aim my sword fingers at my shoulder about the same distance away, and I would either go up and down, circular, or whatever, to get the energy moving in that shoulder. You know, like you were feeling the energy before.
Right.
We're using the sword fingers to get the energy moving in that shoulder. And you do it until you feel, you know, that you can feel or sense the energy moving. Once you have done that, then you take your hand, because what has happened is there are blocks of energy, blocks in the channels, so that energy is not moving. And what you want to do is, without touching, just take gunk out and take it out with your fingers.
Taking it out.
Do it. Yeah, you're just imagining it. and throwing that. And if you're very sensitive to the energy, you may feel things that feel like spaghetti or something like that you're pulling out.
But you don't touch.
And you don't touch, and you just keep doing that until...
For those of you on the radio, we're sitting here like we're taking stuff out of my shoulder. Now I have a torn rotator cuff over here, and that will be interesting to see if anything
And you
happens
keep
there.
doing that until you get the sense that you've moved all the blocks out. And while you're doing that, you want to say in your mind, pain's gone, completely healed, channels are open, completely open. And you say this with focus and intent while you're doing it. You're really sensing that and feeding that in. And then when you're through with a very soft, open hand, you don't want to just leave that energy that you've taken out of there vacant. You want to fill it
Right,
with...
because it's out, yeah, okay.
So you want to... So with the palm of your hand facing, your fingers apart so that the energy is flowing, you softly, 9 times, put energy back into that shoulder. Now
Okay. They think we've gone off the air on the radio. we are moving our hand back and forth 9 times here.
And once you have done that, then you kind of shake your shoulder around and move it. And if you don't feel anything immediately, that's okay. You just wait for a while, and you can do this as
Well, it's moved. The pain has moved.
And so then if it moves, you go to where the new pain
Yeah,
is.
it's moved down. That's interesting. It's moved down. Well, I know that I'm a really good subject because when I was married to a doctor, we went to a convention at one point, and they were learning hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And he volunteered me. And because I have this incredible imagination, then it was easy for me. It was really easy. I think that people that are logical have more problem, but I dropped that and went immediately to the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing I knew, I was hypnotized, and I was aware that I was. And it was the strangest feeling. But because I know I can do them, then I can feel this. I mean, it usually goes really fast, which is why the Kyani products work so good on me, because I knew where they were going in my body. I knew what they could do, and I could envision it. So this is what I'm doing now. Does that work?
Oh, yes. And visualization is part of Qigong.
I tell you, I'm going for 120 years now.
Me too.
I was headed for 90. I'm going for 120 with all this stuff. Good heavens, we've run out of time almost. I can't believe that. Okay, what you were going to do some more on here.
Yes, I wanted to give it because Qigong is about movement.
Okay.
And it's about breathing. So breathing is on the inhale, and this is different than a lot of breathing because they teach you, like when you're having a baby, you know your stomach goes out when you inhale, but
Right.
with this, you don't.
Okay.
Your stomach just slightly comes in when you inhale.
Okay.
When you exhale, it slightly goes out, but not a lot, just a
Okay.
little. And when you're inhaling, you envision all of your body bringing nice, fresh air through every pore in your body. It's coming in and going into the lower dantian, which
If you're in Los Angeles, you're going to have more problems than most of us. I've lived there.
well, the dantian, the lower dantian is right behind your navel, back
Okay.
in, and this is
Okay.
your source, the energy source of light. So when you're breathing, inhaling, you see all your pores are taking in this wonderful new air, and it's filled with light, and it goes to the dantian. So on the inhale, that's what you see. On the exhale, you see all of your pains and sickness and illness, anything like that, coming out of all those pores like smoke and going out to the universe.
Wow.
And so this is one way to move good energy in and
And
the stagnant energy out.
Okay.
So that's one exercise. Another one is what I call soccer ball. And you want to hold like a pretend soccer ball in your hands that far apart.
Okay.
And what you're doing is you're going to move, I hold it in front of me, but I'm moving it out here so those on streaming video can see. You're turning that ball over, slowly over.
Back and forth.
Back and forth, very slowly. And what you're doing is feeling the energy in that ball. And your hands will become very accustomed to it. And when you're doing that in front of your waist, like you should be doing in front of your waist, that energy is going in and out of your body.
Okay.
Good energy in. So you do that for you can do it 5 minutes every day, very slowly. And one other thing I wanted to show you, that's one exercise, is the same thing with the breathing. While you're breathing in and out, you move your hands on the inhale, you move them out. They're in front of you, and you're moving your hands out until are we through?
No, you're okay. You're okay.
Until you reach out, and then that's the inhale. So you see light coming in and good energy coming in through every pore at that time. Then when you feel it back, you're compressing on that smoke energy that's going out of your body in every pore. And you come till you feel that ball of energy again.
Wow.
And so you do that, inhale and exhale. So these are just a couple of things that you can do 5 minutes a day, 2 minutes a day. You do it while you're sitting at a red light, the ball of energy anywhere, but it keeps the channels.
We've got time for another one.
It keeps the channels open and moving. Okay, another one is, let's see if I can do this. Well, I won't do that. I'll do an easier one. Visualize energy going from the back of your head up over the front of your face down to the end of your trunk and then back up your back again. So it's a continuous circle.
So does it go through me?
No, it
goes around me.
Yes, it's going around you.
Okay.
And you're visualizing this energy, and you can visualize that it's color or white light or whatever. And while that is moving, you put your hands in front of you, but they also, fingers open, and they go down to your trunk and up to your face, and you're moving them very slowly while you see this energy moving in color or white light, whatever. You're seeing it moving up and down, the channels up and down from your head, especially to, the end of the
And do
trunk.
you do these throughout the day?
I do them. I try to do some at least every day.
And this is a whole sheet on them? You've got pages here. Now, are you going to be teaching classes in this so we can come to classes?
Well, this is what I wanted to do in the workshops. I wanted to start actually out with Qigong to give them a feeling
I
of
think
it.
that would be great. Are you going to start them soon?
Well, not until after Christmas. I've
Okay.
got too much on my plate.
So we start January maybe?
In January.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
And but let us know ahead of time so we can
yes.
advertise. How many can you handle in a class?
Oh, 20.
You can have 20 in a class? Okay. And do we have a place yet to hold those?
No.
We can handle, we've got another room over here, so we can handle probably 10 or 15 here.
Well, that might be a good place to start.
Here. And have them during the day?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I had one email from a lady, and she had several friends that wanted to come, but she couldn't do it on Saturday morning.
Okay.
So I emailed her back and thanked her, but I haven't really thought about a time.
Well, let's think about what would work pretty good for most people.
And let us know.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Email me.
Yeah, email, and give your email again.
Puggie, Puggie 37 at yahoo.com, or call Pat.
Call me at 801-362-9552. My guest today, my client, my friend, my mentor is Janice Weinheimer. And we so appreciate, I know looking back, you're at a point where you can say, I'm grateful for everything I've been through because this is where I am. And I know that because I'm there. I'm grateful for all the pain and the things that I've been through. I just am so grateful for everything that I've been through. I thought about that this morning as I was getting dressed to come over here, and I thought, it's a good life. And if you just hang in, you can look back and say, okay, I've arrived at a place I'm very content and happy, and everyone can do that. And you're giving us some hints of how to do it easier. Go out and buy her book, The Healing That Cured Me. The illness that healed me. Turn that book around so I can read it. No, we've got it now. We've said it a few times. The illness
that healed
me. And Janice Weinheimer, you can get it on Amazon. I'm Pat Sheranian. We appreciate your being here today. We've got folks that back us up at Utah Valley Live, Kent Vorkett and Pete Hansen. We're grateful for them. We're here every day at noon, 12 to 1. Burl Osmond is earlier in the day at 9. Have a great day.